intros, but welcome into Spattered. Today we have Kimberly Kobachek with us, or AKA Mama Kim.
Hi. I love that you call me that.
My
That
science
make
parent.
that makes me happy.
It's always been
Like
Mama
I'm
Kim.
almost as important as your mom.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sweet.
Well, I mean, as far as banter goes today, I am out of the hurricane. It was 100%
Yay.
humidity, like we were talking. uh,
Yeah. And I am enjoying 100 and what, 11 did I say? Degree heat with
yeah. Ugh.
slight humidity, but not as bad as yours.
No. It's like 50% humidity today. It's not too bad in comparison to how it has been. But yeah, 110 sounds absolutely ridiculous, and I'm not looking
Well,
forward to being in that heat again.
no, I know. And I had some friends that just came back from their fancy trip from a birthday trip and they were in London. They said, yeah, it was rainy and cool and windy. And they got back here and just like we all always said, it's like opening your oven door. It's like, yep,
There's no
you
cookies.
betcha. Uh
You're on
huh.
fire, and
Yeah.
everything else is on fire.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
uh,
unfortunately, it is. Ugh.
London's so pretty this time of year, too. I'm a little jealous of that.
Yeah, no.
Anyway,
Okay, yeah, I don't, how to, so you're gonna have to tell me, because I'm so old fashioned. I don't, do you tell the story? Do I tell the story? You're probably gonna edit this whole part out about me not knowing a lot about
no,
podcasts,
you're
because this is
fine.
my first
Your first
casting
time.
of a podcast, and it's kind of exciting.
Well, I
I learned.
usually go through and tell a story, and
Okay.
ultimately, like, if you have anything else to add in here, because obviously this is a case that we've discussed before in classroom
Yeah.
settings and educational purposes, feel
Yeah.
free to add in and break into me and just be like, hey, I have something to add here.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, first off, I learned something.
You
Um,
did.
I did. And I've learned that I've been pronouncing this man's name incorrectly for 10 years now. What? 9, 10 years? Um, and I also learned a little bit more about where he was born. And I was very surprised, which is what led me to mispronounce his name because I just assumed, oh, yeah, he was from Argentina. Spoiler alert, he's
He's
not.
not. I went through last night at like 4 a.m. I'm like, I need to find
Oh,
all the pronunciations for this episode. I'm
I
like, I missed a couple, so I had to come back through earlier today.
I did the same thing, and I have my notes in front of me with the phonetic pronunciations. Yep,
Yep, that's what I
I'm with
did
you.
too. Which, heads up, as I said in, I don't know if it was the previous episode or the episode before that when I did Hannibal Lecter's inspired serial killer. Spanish is not my first language. English
Yeah.
is barely my first. So please have a little bit of faith in me when I come to pronouncing things. Give me some leeway.
Ditto, ditto. Even though I'm native to Arizona,
Oh, yeah.
I took French in high school
I
and
took
college.
Spanish in high school. Everything got wiped clean when I started learning Norwegian. I'm like, I look at Spanish now, I'm like, oof,
What?
what is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, and yeah. When I talk, if I try to speak Spanish, it always comes out with like a little bit of a French accent. It sounds very messed up.
It's okay. My mom has the same thing because she learned French in high school. And she's like, when
Oh,
I went to
okay.
Mexico, I'm like, I had to translate from like English to French to Spanish and then backwards. I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible. She's like, what about you? I'm like, I mean, there are times when I'm like too drunk and I like switch into Norwegian and my friends are like, what are you saying?
So it's not even Spanglish, it's Norse Spanish,
Nor Spanish.
Spanwegian. Ooh,
Spanwegian.
I like Spanwegian.
I do like Spanwegian. That's funny. I
I
like
like
it.
Spanwegian. There. Okay, Spanwegian.
Alrighty. Well, before we get started,
Okay.
as always, our little disclaimer. So, as we know, some of you listen to the entertainment aspect of true crime, and it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to open old wounds or cause further emotional damage to those involved. We remind you, please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The case discussed in this podcast today may be disturbing to some audiences, and listener discretion is advised. I kind of tripped up on discretion, but that's fine. And as our trigger warning today, this is a minor involved case. So if you're not into that, we completely understand. We'll see you in the next episode. Alrighty. Where do I start? So, history often largely credits Europeans for the invention of the fingerprint identification system, primarily William Herschel, Edward Henry, Francis Galton, and Henry Flauds. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. However, a Croatian man who immigrated to Argentina created what many experts view as a far superior fingerprint system, which was used to convict a murderer in the first degree, with the first recorded use of fingerprints in a criminal case.
Yeah.
This conviction occurred in 1892, a full 10 years prior to fingerprints being used in the criminal cases in England and Paris.
I find that crazy because people, and I'm interrupting, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
10 years. People are saying, hey, let's use fingerprints. This is a cool thing. They've been, used as signatures. And then just like any good government does, they drag their feet and they don't do anything.
Absolutely.
For a long time.
Gotta agree with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, for 10 years, and I remember reading something that was just basically anything that was coming out of Paris of that time for criminology or criminal aspects with forensics was basically vogue. And it's like, oh, it's the latest fashion in Paris, so we're all going to do it. Even if it doesn't work great.
Yeah, kind of like what I'm sure you're going to start talking about anthropometry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's cool and it's French, so let's do it.
Yep, and it doesn't always work great. So
it worked for a bit until it didn't.
It didn't. I just try to figure out, and we'll get into this a little bit more, of how did that even work per se, other than witness identification to looking at how somebody was measured.
Well, it was like the combination of measurements, and of course, I'm doing the, stretching my arms out right now, but I mean, they measured facial features, like how far the nose was, but then your wingspan and the circumference of your head and like leg height. And so it was 21 or 22 different measurements that were taken.
Oh, yeah.
And documented as part of this anthropometry system.
Yeah, it was super labor intensive. And I'm like, ooh, okay. I would never wish that on my worst enemy for being able to do forensics. You got to go measure this guy in 20 different ways, play 20 questions with him. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. You can't really do live scan with that.
No.
Not anymore.
So,
that'd be funny.
Juan Vucetich moved to Argentina in 1884 from his native home of Croatia and eventually was employed with the Statistical Bureau of the La Plata Police Department. During this time, the Bertillon criminal identification system was currently being used, which was developed by a French criminologist and anthropologist, Alfonso, I'm not really sure, Bertillon. So apologies if I mispronounced his name. But as Kim and I were discussing, the Bertillon method was a method in which, by measurements of the head, the body, shape, formations of the ear, eyebrow, mouth, eye, etc., along with individualized markings such as that tattoo or scarring for personal characteristics, were used to identify the offender. And in 1884, it was used to identify 241 offenders, and after this was implemented and adopted into police forces in Great Britain, Europe, and the Americas. So Vucetich used this method while working in the police department. However, during this time, he also became fascinated with the developing field of forensic oh with the developing field of forensic print classification, so fingerprint classifications.
Yeah.
Vucetich focused primarily on Galton's fingerprint research, but quickly extended Galton's single fingerprint method to include all 10 fingerprints. He also ingeniously created a sophisticated and near foolproof system of categorizing fingerprint patterns.
And he was, isn't he credited with as the first person to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And like his notes, because I went and found some of them, like I think it was in the Library of Medicine, some of his
uh-huh.
notes regarding like how he went through this process and what all he like did to like kind of like categorize and subcategorize fingerprints to move forward with a better identification system.
Yeah. I think it's cool that this is basically his hobby.
Mm-hmm.
He would collect impressions from, I don't know everybody, but he'd collect impressions from the prisoners that he would see at the police department. And then did he add them to their
Yeah, he added them to like
inventory file?
what was like considered like a card file at that time, so you could just
Okay.
pull somebody's card out and be like, okay, these are their fingerprints. And he was doing that alongside of like the Bertillon measurements still, so I'm like,
Right.
you are going
Yeah.
above and beyond, my dude.
Yeah, right? Probably not getting paid anymore for it either.
No.
But that, yeah, that's just amazing. And he did that on his own accord, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He just started and went with it, decided this is what we're going to do because it looks like it's going to be a better method.
And nobody believed him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Geniuses are often doubted
Oh
at
yes,
first. But
absolutely.
yeah.
So on June 19th of 1892 in Nicosia, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, a small
That's,
town. Do you want me to go and pronounce names? See
no,
what it is.
uh, Necochea. Necochea.
Nicosia? Nicosia?
Necochea. That's what Google pronunciation said.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Necochea.
I trust Google a little bit sometimes.
A little bit.
A little bit. So, in Necochea, a small town off the coast of Argentina in the province of Buenos Aires, a 26-year-old woman, however, there is speculation that she may have been 27, depending on which article that you read, named Francisca Rojas, ran out of her home screaming, "He killed my children." Within her home, Rojas's two children, which varied depending on, once again, which article you read, from being two boys, age 6 and 4, to a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl,
Yeah.
were found dead in their beds with their heads smashed in and possibly even their throats cut.
Ugh.
Rojas had sustained an injury to her neck and was bleeding from it when the authorities had arrived. She accused a man named Pedro Valsquez. Valsquez?
Okay. Okay.
Velasquez.
Um,
I'm like,
Velasquez.
I had it
Yeah.
phonetically spelled out here. I'm like, what am I trying to
Oh.
say? Like, Velasquez?
Ramon Velasquez.
Pedro Velasquez. For murdering her children because she'd refused to marry him. Rojas further claimed that when she returned home from work that evening, Velasquez had been inside of her home and he'd pushed past her when he came running out. When she searched her home further, she found her two children dead in their beds with their heads crushed in.
This really sounds like a very familiar story, which I really hope you do on another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Are we
when it
thinking
happens.
Susan Smith?
Actually, that's a good one
That's a
too.
good one too.
Actually, I'm thinking Darlie Routier.
I've actually never heard her case.
Okay. Wish list for next podcast.
Yep, I will
Right?
definitely grab that one and put it in my case files.
Okay, so just warning to you and your listeners, that one is a really, really tough case. Um, Not to get sidetracked, but two small kids, and of course, with the internet now, there
Mm-hmm.
are crime scene photos.
Oh no.
So,
I do have to warn people that if you do go searching up cases, be prepared because sometimes they just pop up right on the front page of Google and you just kind of
yep,
sit there like, what?
yep,
Yep.
and you can't get it out of your head.
Oh, yeah. My poor mom's like, I want to do Bodies of Everest. I should research some of this. I'm like, don't.
Yeah,
You don't like crime scene photos. You don't like seeing that type of stuff. Don't.
mm-mm. And yeah, these are tough. I can
Mm-hmm.
compartmentalize really, really well, I think, for the most part.
For the most part.
Um, but these are bad.
Yep. I'm like, I feel like I do okay with compartmentalization when it comes to crime scene photos, but there is definitely sometimes I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I need to
Yeah,
walk off and take a breather, and we'll come back to this momentarily.
yes. Agree 1000% on that one.
So,
Yeah.
Velasquez was arrested and endlessly questioned by police, and by some accounts, he was tortured in order to extract a confession from him.
I read that he was tortured in front of the kids' bodies.
I didn't read that one, but I did read in some reports and secondary sources there was descriptions of how Velasquez was actually locked in overnight in a room with the murdered children.
Yes. Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh God, I could not even imagine that. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. No.
Especially these are kids that you know because you were dating their mom.
Yeah.
So it's not
We're
like
and
some stranger situation. You know who these people are.
right. And even if you didn't, they're two small kids.
Oh, absolutely. And brutally murdered. And you're just
Uh-huh.
like expected to sit in there and be
Chill,
chill,
I guess, or
sleep for the night, good
confess.
night.
Yeah,
No.
hi. I can't I just can't believe that I mean that is torture.
Mm-hmm.
That's truly torture.
That is
That's more
beyond
than
torture.
you know, things up your fingernails or taping your
Mm-hmm.
eyelids open or whatever. That would definitely elicit some confessions.
Oh, yeah. Which he was strong and he vehemently maintained his innocence. A police investigator, Edward Alvarez from La Plata, was sent to investigate the murders several days after the incident. Alvarez had also taken great interest in Vucicic's fingerprinting identification efforts and appreciated the potential utility of a new identification system. So, once Alvarez arrived in Necochea, he learned that Vasquez was able to have this incredible alibi for the whereabouts of the night of the murders. So he was very credible in his alibi. He had witnesses. He had so many people being like, he wasn't there. And they're just like, nope, he's suspect number one.
Okay, so did they torture the witnesses too?
I have no idea. I hope not, but they might
I
have.
hope not either, but
It
I don't
happens.
know.
I don't know.
I suppose maybe. Okay.
So,
So he's saying he wasn't there, and
mm-hmm.
people are saying
He
he wasn't
wasn't there.
there.
Yeah. So he's got a credible alibi for his whereabouts that night.
Okay.
So Alvarez at this time also began to learn a little bit more about Rojas and that she was in love with another man at the time, a man
Okay.
who refused to marry her due to having children.
Okay.
So Alvarez shifts his attention from Vasquez over to Rojas as his new suspect
Okay. Not the guy who didn't want the kids, but actually Rojas herself.
herself.
Okay.
So Alvarez searched for hours within the home of Rojas, specifically where the two children were found murdered, and finally found an imprint of a thumb made in blood on the door to the room where the children were sleeping. Alvarez then obtained a saw and cut a section around the print, taking it from the door. Then
Right
had
on.
Rojas's thumb inked and pressed. However, I have seen the full um,
Yeah,
print
she had
pad
like
of it. She had them all
hit
done.
prints. Yeah,
She had them
yeah.
all done. I'm like, part of me is like, oh, there's so much detail missed there, but I gotta remember that this is like the first case ever used with fingerprints.
Right, right.
I'm like, you missed so much detail.
I know.
So, despite Alvarez's minimal experience working with fingerprints and Rojas stating that she hadn't touched the children and she couldn't have their blood on her hands due to that, he
Yeah.
was determined to investigate this through, and he found out that the two prints matched. When
Yeah.
Alvarez showed the evidence to Rojas, she became hysterical and confessed that she'd cut her own neck and murdered her children because they prevented her from marrying the man that she loved.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Mm.
Because that is the reason why you murder your children.
I don't
I'm being
understand it.
sarcastic.
I
I,
don't
I,
understand it. I'm like, how
I
could
don't either.
you?
But just remember that when you look at the other case,
Mm-hmm.
the kids and wounding her own neck.
Oh, yeah.
Not the reasoning per se, but
I'm like, I just got back from Missouri and I went up there to see my friends June and James, who have also been on this podcast
uh-huh.
and are on their short hiatus. And their little girl, I absolutely love
Oh.
Aurora with my whole heart. She completely cured the baby fever that I had going, but I'm like, oh my God, she was so cute. We went swimming and she decided that she was going to swim to me. She had a life jacket on and everything.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'm a strong swimmer. I'll be fine. She gets over to me and immediately like dunks me under. I'm like, you know what?
Uh-huh.
I'll drown to keep this baby up. This is fine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're just pushing her up by a
Yep.
little butt or something. Like,
I'm
there
like,
you go, baby.
June or James, come get her. Whoever
Yeah.
has the life jacket on, please.
How old is she?
She is 3.
Oh, oh, so
Mm-hmm.
cute.
So when Alvarez returned to La Plata with the door section and his story, it created a tremendous excitement within the police department. Vucetich could scarcely believe that his system had actually worked. And months later, several more cases were resolved using his fingerprint identification system.
Awesome. Awesome.
However, a frustrating period would start in 1893 when the chief of police would order Vucetich to shut down his dactyloscopy. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly.
Nope, dactyloscopy, yeah, because dactyl, I
Dactyl,
forgot what that was,
polydactyl
just
type of
fingers.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
polydactyl, so dactyl fingers, scope,
dactylscopy.
yeah, yeah, so good. You got it, you got it.
Forced him to shut down his dactylscopy system and return to the Bertillon system. Luckily enough, though, the next chief that would replace this previous one would actually reverse this order.
That's good.
By
That's good.
1901, Argentina was the first country in the world to base its identification methods entirely off of fingerprints.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before anthropometry was it was shit canned in the US because of Will West and William West, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Yay, Argentina. Yay,
yay,
go on.
Argentina. Vucetich would actually live to see his own fingerprint system become established in most of South America, where it is still used today, including China, Japan, and other non-European countries. Additionally,
That's awesome.
Edmond Locard, the French criminologist known for Locard's principle of exchange, celebrated this method and considered it a near perfect system. Oh, like,
Whoa.
I could not imagine
That's
being in the criminal justice field and having somebody so high
really,
be like, you did a near perfect job. And it's like,
yeah.
thank you, sir.
That's like the NAS report calling your discipline the gold standard.
That's like Paul
Oh
Hole's
my
going,
God, I
wow,
didn't.
you did really good on that coverage. I did.
Yeah, good job. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
I'm like, oh, that is
Wow.
way too cool.
Oh, okay. And he's a Frenchman. So
Mm-hmm.
now, since the Frenchman who's in vogue says He's
This
cool.
works nicely. We like
And of
this.
course it
It's
works.
starting to get adapted through other cultures and other European branches.
Cool.
So this system became known as dactyloscopy, or sometimes is referred to as Vusachichisium. I'm so sorry, that was a mouthful to begin with. I'm like, okay, here we go.
That's okay.
So now there are several accounts of a meeting between Vucetich and Bertillon. However, most of them did not go well.
Oh, really?
Yes. There was one meeting that was recorded in 1913 when Bertillon had fallen ill and Vucetich had decided to pay his respects to the ailing man, only to be left on the
Okay.
doorstep for an inordinate amount of time. When Bertillon did come to the door, he refused to shake Vucetich's hand and instead angrily stated, "Sir, you've caused me a great deal of harm," and slammed the door in his face.
Dude, Lockhart said it was cool. Why can't
I know.
you?
I'm like, I feel like we're all on the same side here. If there's something better, even
Right.
if it wasn't your method, like, you should be
Right.
happy about that.
I mean, Vucetic never said I mean, they didn't say what I said, that, well, I didn't say it, but, that anthropometry has some issues.
Mm-hmm.
He just, he found fingerprinting to be better.
Oh yeah, I
Oh my
think
God, this,
anthropometry has its own like use in the field. Like when we talk about
yeah,
missing persons and trying to like put together a
right?
profile for them, that works really well, especially when you're taking into consideration a
Yeah,
possible set of unidentified remains being found.
right. Because that's basically when they have a UHR, unidentified human remains, that's what they're doing is they're
Mm-hmm.
measuring bone length and their cranium measurements and determining male or female,
Yep.
right? So,
And determining like how much did this person weigh just based off of like possible bone flaring or
right.
fragmentation, and moving forward from that, it's like this still gets used. It's just not going to be used in the same way that you initially dictated. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's still being used. It's just not working for what we're looking to do.
Yeah, well, that's just rude.
I'm like, wow, somebody was very, very fucking salty
Yeah.
for no
Yeah.
reason.
Little jealous much.
Uh, I kind of walk off that step being like, okay, that was rude, but all right,
Yeah, okay.
I'll take it.
Whatevs.
Whatever.
Guess what, Alphonse? My system is still being used by
Mm-hmm.
Interpol,
By
which you don't
Interpol.
know what that is because we're both dead. So you don't know what Interpol is,
Oh, yeah.
but it still is.
And he would actually end up passing away from the illness that was ailing him in like 1913 in like 3 more years. I think he passed away in 1916 of it.
What was ailing him?
I'm not entirely sure. They wouldn't say, but I'm presuming it's something probably along the lines of, I would presume, cancer or something like that
Oh,
if it was taking such a
okay.
long time.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Yeah, it flare ups and all that
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
it happens.
That makes sense.
But we're going to get into some of the fun stuff now, Kim. If you want
Okay.
to go through fingerprint identification and categorization with me.
Okay.
So there are three
Yeah.
categories of fingerprints: loop,
Okay.
arch, whorl, and each
Whirl.
has a subcategory. So subcategories can be plain arch, a tented arch, an ulnar loop, which is also referred to as a right slanted loop,
Yeah. Okay.
or
Yeah.
a radial loop, which is also referred to as the left slanted loop.
Left slanted. Yeah.
There is a plain whirl, a central pocket loop, a double whirl, and an accidental whirl. And then I think there's also what's called like a peacock whirl, but it was not on the slides because I had to go running back. I'm like, I need to brush up before I come back in here.
I have never heard of the. I'll have to ask some coworkers about the peacock
Yeah.
whirl if they've heard of that. That's interesting.
I'm like, I've heard about that once, and I don't know if it's actually a thing or if it's just something that randomly stuck in my memory. But it was like almost like a central pocket whirl where it's like it
Okay.
just stops
Just
in the middle.
perfection. Okay.
Hmm.
Whirls are my favorite.
I do too. I have
They look
one
the
whirl
coolest.
print.
I think I have them on my thumbs. at least one of my thumbs. Oh no. Yeah, on one of my thumbs I do.
Yep, my right thumb is a whirl, but I also have a really weird one, which my mentor back in Havasu was absolutely over the moon about because it was like half arch and half a loop.
Oh.
And she's like, "You can't commit any crime because this is super rare." I'm like, "Aren't all fingerprints unique?" She's like, "Yeah, but we'd be able to find you immediately because I'm taking this one."
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
"Thanks." Okay.
Thanks a lot. You just messed up my retirement plans here.
You
I don't
missed
know
up
what's
my
going
plans to
on.
become a serial killer if anything else
Yeah,
fails. Damn it.
doggone it. Well,
Guess
that's
I'll
not
have to
really a
wear gloves.
moneymaker, so
No, no, not
no.
not really.
Uh, yeah, I can't do anything either because, well, I'm fingerprinted all over the place, but then I've
Mhm.
got a lot of weird, like, scars and I would say man-made, person-made ridges. So a lot of weird markings on my other than the fingerprints,
Yeah.
finger marks on my
Now I got
fingers.
a couple weird little indents from like scars when I was working at like Papa Murphy's or anywhere that
Oh.
required me to like cut vegetables.
Uh-huh.
Cause my
Yeah.
God, that knife would slip constantly because it was just too dull. There was one time I went running back to the bathroom and I just sat in there for a little bit. And my manager came back. She's like, "You can't be sitting there." I'm like, "If I come out, I'm gonna pass out on the floor, so I don't think you want that."
Oh, yeah. Bleeding a lot. I guess it was bleeding a lot.
hmm Well, I have a
Yeah.
thing where it's like can view the most bloody, horrific crime scene. If I'm bleeding though, it's an automatic we boom down ground.
Huh. So you have an unusual what is it? Vagal response.
hmm
Vasovagal response
It's like my brain goes, "That's supposed to be in us. Let's
in the
just go to
body.
sleep." I'm like,
That's
"No, that's
insane.
not a good way to handle this."
I had a boyfriend who had that kind of response, but it was to anything. So he couldn't watch, I mean, like bloody movies and stuff. You'd see him
hmm
kind of turn away and you're like, "Oh, okay. I know why you're turning away." But then, his own blood, he's
Yeah, my brother's
passed out
boyfriend
without
was that way.
uh, that's kind of
Intense
crappy.
hemophobia.
So basically, you could never be not you, but one could never be a crime scene
hmm
person
I mean,
or DNA or serology.
I love serology. It's so cool.
I do too.
I like
I
being in the
still do.
lab, but I also like being on scene. It's great.
Yeah. I definitely like the lab more. The
hmm
scene, I tell you, God bless them because I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. We were doing an outreach thing a couple weeks ago, and it had high school students, and they were there for a week, and it was kind of like our agency's summer camp, but they got to hang out with the crime lab for a day and then do all the cool things with the helicopter and the SWAT
Oh,
team.
that's
And
so cool.
oh, it was awesome. um but for the crime lab, we actually had a crime scene set up for them, and like all these different learning centers and stuff like that. But in the middle of our time, our crime scene unit got called out to
Oh
go to a
God.
crime scene, and it was like 109 or something
Ugh.
outside. They were Thankfully it was short. It was outside, but it wasn't um an extended scene or
Yeah.
anything like that. But
It wasn't
I
super intense of like you're
no,
there
no, it was
forever.
no, it was a body found in the canal.
hmm
Yeah. So, but I couldn't do it. I
Oh yeah.
couldn't do it. So I like the lab.
I like the
So
lab too. It stays cool in there.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm like, that's a bonus. They have to keep it at a certain temperature.
Yeah. Well, except our lab right now is like super hot.
Oof.
77, 80 degrees
Oh, that's not too
in the
bad.
lab. It's really bad.
My dad's decided that the AC in the trailer needs to go off at night. I'm like, please, dear God, turn it back on. So
No.
whenever I get back in there at like 3ish in the morning, I'm like, I close all the windows out front and I like close the door to his half and turn the AC on. And Salem like just comes out and like plops on the ground, like, thank you, mother.
Good. It's like, thank you, Mom. I need air. No, good. You need it. That's awful.
Oh, yeah. So
Of-
distribution of prints can happen on a porous surface, which is an absorbent surface such as paper, cardboard, or raw wood, water component with latent print absorption, and residual components remain when this happens, if I remember correctly. Like I said, I
Mhm.
went running back to PowerPoints today. I'm like, I gotta have my stuff tuned up. Let me brush this off real quick because my books over here are in a
Oh,
box. And then there's a little hole at the bottom of the box. I'm like, we've had scorpions and we've had spiders and we've had snakes in here. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna
uh,
touch that quite yet. We're not
yeah,
gonna
I think
open that
that's a
can
good
of
idea.
worms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. PowerPoints are safer.
PowerPoints are safer and I still had access to
Yes,
them. So I was like, okay, here we go.
good, perfect.
So, non porous surfaces such as glass, metal, plastic, prints remain on top of the substrate. So, it's exposed to the elements and can be a little bit more fragile in turn.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's semi porous surfaces, properties in which both porous and non porous substrates have. Examples of this would be like magazines, wax coated paper cups, photographs, glossy like paint, and then
Yeah.
printed or varnished wood. And they absorb some water soluble components a little bit slower. So it can be on the surface, but it can also soak into the substrate itself. Depending on the amount of force or pressure applied, the contact with friction ridges to the surface, contact time, the substrate itself, and the composition, my goodness, of the print, such as like if your hands are dry, can vary how a print is going to be distributed onto that surface and how clearly it's going to look.
Yep, yep. It's it and it's different. Sorry, total brain fog here.
No, you're fine. I live in the brain
Um,
fog.
yeah, the deposition just it's an individual thing. It's crazy. I was reading a paper on shedder, shedder, shedder status. And they had a little bit of fingerprint stuff in there too, and talking about how dry your skin is doesn't have any effect on shutter status, but it does on whether you leave fingerprints or not. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
What? That is insane.
Yep, and so many people seem to think that like if a print's left at a scene or like it's got to be a perfect print, they'll find a match. It's not always that way. Sometimes
Nope.
you have a print that's like partially smudged. You have sometimes where it's just a little bit of detail and there's not much there to
Right.
look at. So you're having limitations depending on the contact with the substrate, the environmental conditions as well because like let's say it's left outside and it's raining,
Yeah.
you're going to possibly
Yeah.
lose a lot of detail that way or if not the
Yeah.
whole print.
Right. And then how it's collected
Mm-hmm.
and documented, that can have an effect on it too.
Yep. And the quality of the latent print material deposited per se, so the lipids or solubles within like your skin that create those prints. And I remember when I first started like volunteering at the police department, like I remember she told me like you need to like run your hands through your hair. She made me take my hair down. She's like run your hands through your hair like you're stressed out and then
Yeah.
touch this cup. And I'm going to
Yeah.
make you dust for prints.
Really,
Mhm.
really loaded up with with stuff.
Oh yeah. Get all
For your
those
face.
nasty oils, all those face oils, because what do you do when you're stressed out? It's a lot of like you run your hands through your
Yeah.
hair, you put them up to your face, you're collecting
Yeah.
all that oil. And then
Right.
you also have natural lipids that just form out of your fingertips too. So it's like
Hmm.
you get them all oiled up, you can leave a perfect print that way.
And who's stressed out when they're leaving fingerprints?
The criminal that committed the
Criminals.
crime.
Yeah.
Because
Bad
they're like,
people.
what did I just do?
Yeah. Oops.
Oops. If they have a
Um,
conscience. I mean, sometimes they don't.
right.
I'll give them that.
This is true.
But
Yeah.
usually serial killers that don't really have the like conscious voice in the back of their head unless they're a chaotic serial killer have some form of plan going until they
Right.
finally mess up, which is
Yeah.
always fantastic to see and read about.
I'm like, oh, you did this one little thing
And they
and
got
you
you.
got caught.
Oh yeah. No, Israel Keys for sure. I'm like
I really need to go back and review all your stuff because that's just insane. That's crazy.
that
I keep
was
using insane and crazy,
oh no.
but
It is. It's
good words
absolutely
for 'em.
flabbergasting at times. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. When we went through Israel, it was over, I want to say, 1,000 pages for the FBI files, which my mom read through. I
Oh,
reread through American Predator, and then I went digging through all these different web sources. Like the absolute monstrosity that my reference section was is beyond interpretation or capacity for me to go back. I'm like, it came out to be almost 80 some pages by the time I was done, and it was a
are you
three-parter.
kidding? Ugh.
It was
Wow.
intense. It was an intense deep dive. And I told my mom after that, I'm like, this is our end of the year episode. I'm not touching anything else. I need a break.
Well, yeah, you get, I mean, you talk about compartmentalization, but at a certain point, now I'm going
Mm-hmm.
back to my analogies because I just thought of a good one. You get to be like those watertight compartments in the Titanic, and they fill up to the top, and then
Mm-hmm.
they overflow, and
And
then the
roll
boat
into the next section, and
roll,
then suddenly your
roll into the
boat's
next section, and the
tilting.
next, yep, and then you sink.
And then you sink, and you're like, what just happened? But here's one for us that I completely forgot up until I saw it, but the processing methods of latent fingerprints with porous substances and
Uh-huh.
ninhydrin.
Oh God, yes. Still used.
It's still used, but oh my God, I remember us trying to get it to process so much in the lab that you had, and it was just not
Yeah.
working.
I felt so bad that I couldn't get it to work. And I just thought, I am a failure.
No, you're
Like this
fine.
is not working. Um, but what did I always say? Well, even no results are results, and
Mm-hmm.
science happens. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But
Yeah, it's still
crappy,
frustrating at the end of the day. It's like, why didn't you work?
crappy science happens too.
Yep, absolutely, it happens.
Which that is not crappy science. I'm just clarifying. Ninhydrin is good science.
It just
Just
has its
our
fallbacks a little
experiences.
bit
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. Our teaching experiences and learning experiences can get kind of chaotic
Oh,
at
yeah.
times.
My personal favorite way to do it, though, is the cyanoacrylate ester fuming. I love
I
super glue
love
fuming.
that. Isn't that cool?
It's
I
so
love.
cool, and it gets you a perfect print. I'm like, oh.
Uh huh.
I'm like, this makes
Yeah.
my job so easy.
There used to be. I think the first year I was teaching. I don't know how I'm pretty sure. I don't know how I got a hold of it. Maybe I bought it with one of those kits or something that they sell. Iodine fuming, which
Oh, yeah,
thank
that
God I
one's
used it in the hood.
interesting.
That is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I had ever played with iodine crystals. I had my fancy setup of iodine crystals and like a Ziploc sandwich box. I know, really high tech, right?
I mean, it happens. I'm like,
In
just
the
playing
in
with
the
it.
fume hood, thankfully in the fume hood, I learned that one kind of the hard way. Uh, yeah, don't inhale iodine
I think we've
fumes.
all had that problem though at some point or another. If you're a real scientist, you've definitely had one thing
Oh
go
yeah.
wrong where you're like, that should have been in the fume hood.
Yeah, should have been in the fume hood. I should not have mouth pipetted. I should not have inhaled
Mm-hmm.
that stuff.
The
Yeah.
process of learning. I remember there was
Yeah.
one instance where uh, sulfuric acid hit tinfoil on the top of one of the beakers that my lab partner was holding, and it started to go,
Oh,
and he started to freak out. So I came over and I took the bottom of it. I'm like, to the fume hood I go, because he's like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm like,
oh my
to the
God.
fume hood.
Yes.
I'm like, I put it in there, I closed it, and I backed away. I'm like,
Yep.
this is why
You
we
were the
said
heroine.
carefully.
Yes. You were the
agitate.
hero in that story,
I'm like,
for
this is
sure.
why it was a careful agitation, not completely go wild with it. Just a little vibration to get it going.
Yeah, what do you have? The stir bar, like,
Oh yeah, like going crazy. And it was like
yeah.
splashing. I'm like,
No, no, no,
that's not a good thing.
no, not with sulfuric
No.
acid.
I'm like, I played enough in the chemistry labs at Havasu to know my stuff pretty well, which is
Yeah,
wonderful at
yes,
the end of the
serves
day.
you well, and
Yeah.
good memories.
Oh yeah, very good
Well,
memories.
hopefully, good memories.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love being in there. That was great. I love lab work. So there's also blood enhancement methods, which I'm not entirely sure what that details because A, I can't get to my book, and B, that's all that was on the slide. I'm like, what does that mean? So,
Oh, yeah. So amido black, I think is one of the methods, and it reacts to the proteins in the blood. So it's similar to ninhydrin because ninhydrin
oh, okay.
also reacts to the proteins in the blood, but with ninhydrin, it develops into like a purple, a really
Mm-hmm.
pretty purple print when it works. If you're in my teaching lab, it works in real life really, really well. But the amido black um, looks like it sounds. It's black. Um, so yeah, you can do that. That's one of the blood fingerprint enhancement techniques.
Okay, that's interesting sounding. I'd actually kind of want to look that up and see what it looks like.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty cool. I mean, it looks like a super dark black powdered fingerprint.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
obviously, we have black and white powder too for pulling prints off of more
yeah.
non porous substrates. I'm like, I don't remember what
Uh,
all goes into those powders, but I know that they work really well. I think I said in one episode they were like mica powder. I'm like, I don't think that's right.
well, I mean, the powders are made of different things because there's magnetic powder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's not the same thing as the carbon black powder, obviously. And like you said, there's the white powders, but then there's the fluorescent powders too for the different colored substrates.
Ooh.
And the fluorescent powders will react with different wavelengths of light. So you can
Mm-hmm.
enhance the print for photographing with the fluorescent powder and the use of an alternate light source in a specific light wavelength that is recommended to use with that fluorescent powder.
Okay, that sounds magical, and I want to
It's
see
pretty
it.
cool.
I'm
Yeah,
like, that
it is
sounds
very,
wonderful.
it's very magical. Yeah, anything with the use of an alternate light source, I think, is super cool.
I love using alternative light sources. I actually need to repurchase a black light because we have bark scorpions here. I'm like,
Oh. Yeah.
mm-mm-mm.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's what would scare me about using a black light.
well, I
Because
had to
you'd see
use
all
them
that.
in Glendale because they always got into the apartment, and I didn't know that they were like there until I got Salem. Because she
Oh,
caught
yeah.
one and brought it to me and dropped it on my chest while it was still
Uh,
alive. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like the first week of having her. I told my mom, I'm like, I'm gonna have to take this cat back. She's like, are you kidding? I'm like, I don't know. She won't stop meowing and she's bringing me scorpions, man. I can't do this.
like gifts are okay, but not scorpions. Thank you very much.
I'm like, at least finish the job, Salem. Please don't.
Yeah, kill it.
She's never been one
Yeah.
to kill things, which I'm like, I guess that's a good conscience. But at the same time, like, whenever she gets a spider or a fly, she'll rip the legs off of the spider and, like, leave it there.
Oh.
And then the fly, she rips the wings off and she watches it crawl around. I'm like,
Oh my God.
I swear, Salem, you were a serial killer in another life.
I was gonna say she's the reincarnated spirit of someone
Oh, yeah.
questionable, maybe.
I did ask her
Someone,
the other day, I'm
something.
like, were you a serial killer in another life? She looked at me and she went, meh. I'm like, is that a yes?
Yeah. Meow once for yes. Meow
Twice for no.
twice for no. Meow. Wait, was that a yes or a no?
Was that a yes or a no? Meow meow.
Meow. Uh, okay, just keep being good to me, and I'll keep being good to you.
Oh yeah.
Promise, promise.
She's such a cuddle bug nowadays. I love it.
Oh, I
And
love it.
last we come to special substrate processing, which would be like vacuum metal deposit,
Mm-hmm.
um, gun bluing, or sticky side substrate.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And they're still using that too, like the sticky side stuff. Like for duct tape,
mm-hmm,
they'll still use that. I think some of the special, like the FBI lab probably uses, I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure, uses the vacuum metal deposit. I know there was an episode of Bones that used that.
yep.
That
I'm
was
like,
super cool.
I
I
remember seeing that
remember
on Bones. I'm like, that was pretty
when
cool.
Hodgins used that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, of course he got perfect prints, as one does when you're on a TV show. But I would say for the most part, it's like you said, ninhydrin, cyanoacrylate, and the powders,
Mm-hmm.
and the sticky side too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I remember using the powders with sticky sides. So it'd be like you dust your print and then you put tape over it and you pull it. And you have to make sure that you pull it fast enough that it pulls
Yeah.
the print and you don't get bubbles. And when you lay it down, you have to make sure that it's completely straight, which, depending on what type of a sticky, like, packet that you're using, if you're just using like straight duct tape or if you're actually using a certified, like, we pull this off, we stick it, and then you can flip it back over,
Uh-huh.
that can become very difficult.
Yeah, it can. Especially, yeah, if you're not used to using one and then
Mm-hmm.
you're having to use the other. Because I know when I was teaching, of course, we have to stay on budget, and those J lifts are kind of pricey. So what do we use in class? Packing tape.
Packing
Yay.
tape, which thankfully I was used to because that's what I
Right.
was practicing on back at the Havasu PD. So it was like when I got in there,
Yeah,
I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Just here we go.
that's great. But yeah, but no one who doesn't use packing tape is familiar with it. The
Mm-hmm.
the tape gun, yeah, it's just a hot mess.
Yep.
So,
I remember
yes,
the
you're
whole
right.
fingerprint lab of having to roll them too. And one of the lab partners that I was with, like, they just had me rolling prints because I was like, okay, this
Oh
is
yeah,
nothing.
well, because you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
And
you could get someone to relax because that's
oh,
the
yeah.
hardest part.
Well, there's a one point in your wrist that if you pinch it just right, it goes limp. I'm like, okay,
Nice.
don't make me do this. Relax your hand.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to do that to anybody?
I did have to do that to somebody.
Let's see. Was it someone you liked or someone you didn't like?
I mean, she was fine. She was just very, like, up on edge type of thing, like high, like, anxiety, and just could not relax. So I was like, I grabbed her wrist and I pinched just right, and her hand went limp, and I went really quick. I'm like, okay, other hand. And she goes,
Did she even know what happened?
no. She kind of just like stood there like in shock. She's like, what did you just do? I'm like, don't even worry about it. Other hand. Let's go.
It's magic. Don't worry, you're not paralyzed.
You're not paralyzed. It'll come back in a moment. It's just to relax you. I just hit the tendon. We're fine. Give me your
That's
other hand.
cool. Oh, that's funny. I didn't know that.
It's like right below the thumb right here. If you pinch just right.
Uh, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I believe it. Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay.
I'm like, relax your hand. Don't make me do it.
That is so funny.
But yeah, that's all I have.
It's a good trick because, if you had to do, I know they do live scan now, but when you were at Havasu, did you have to do that on arrestees or
I
prisoners?
didn't, but my mentor over there showed me how to do it because she's like, we'll get you set up and ready to go. So if you're going to start printing people, you know this method, because there are a lot of people, being that Havasu is a party town, that get
Uh-huh.
arrested for partying,
DUI.
DUI,
Yeah.
much worse things, domestic violence, things. So going forward, that come in and they might still be drunk, they might still be combative, There's
Yeah.
times, multiple times, where like the Black Hood had to come out and go over because they were like spitting at you and doing nasty
Oh,
stuff, and like they
ew.
just won't relax their hands. So she's like, in the instance that this happens, hit
They
right
relax.
here and it will relax. You got to move fast though. I'm like, okay.
Wow. That's very cool.
Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.